It was with a sharp intake of breath that I cut into my inner wing. I decided I should put in some cutting pace notes so I'd know exactly where to stop, because I'm passing by some other panels on the inside of the cuts, because I don't want to interfere with anything that doesn't need to be. You've probably seen in previous videos that I've been working my way up this A-pillar rear wheel arch inner wing section after I stitch weld the car as well, so I put as much strength in around all of this as I could before going into these big cuts. So after making my marks, I am already correcting that first horizontal cut that I did, which was actually a little bit too cautious. I suppose I can be a bit braver now that I've double checked anything and I'm following the guidelines that I put in myself. I also have the jack supporting this front right hand corner a little bit further out than the axle stands do, just to keep everything in its place. This top part of the scuttle panel is connected here with some spot welds, so I'm drilling them out with the 6mm drill bit and just get there's a lever bar rather than a chisel I'm going to use here to split that off. These are the little moments where you're going, is the whole front of the car going to tilt down? Rationally I think not, but emotionally it's on my mind. Now the spot welds here were actually very hard to find, so I used the wire wheel to investigate them. Looking at the front and the back, I pretty much judged where they are and marked them and drilled them. And I seem to get it pretty right. More on the top. And then a very gentle cut here, not going in too deep, so that I still have the support behind this. So yeah, that's why I didn't cut the panel out all in one go. I left it and did the vertical cut so I could see exactly where that front area of the scuttle joins this inner wing. It's quite satisfying when they pop like that. It's important to leave these supporting bits as unchanged as possible, so that when putting in new pieces that they fit exactly where they should be. So now that's the whole section that I'm going to replace out. But then there's also a little bit, I suppose in a sense this is the back of the wheel arch, that panel that I've been working on, and this is the inner wing here. They both kind of join together and are doing the same kind of thing for a section. But anyway, there's a little bit of this inner wing panel that overlaps that rear wheel arch. So I need to cut out the rust on that. And I'm leaving the top edge of that. It's in good condition, so it's just a tiny bit of extra weld that will be there instead of making the repair out over to the edge. But I think it's important to leave this to keep everything in shape. Now, yeah, a few bits kept gripping to the spot welds there underneath, so just cleaning them off with a grinding disc, and I'll also just clean up the edges for welding then. Little cardboard template I'm making. You've seen me do this quite a few times now. I just cut that out around the edge of the marker lines and then put that onto the salvage piece of steel that I have, and then cut on the inside of those lines, and should end up with a good replacement patch. Using a magnet there to fit this in place. get a few little tack welds in to hold it. I suppose if you wanted to do all this a little bit quicker, you could have just welded in one big long panel, but the joins would all look wrong. It wouldn't really be original, and you might do it on a road car that you were just keeping going, but with this car going to have some historic value, need to do it as close to original as possible. Tidying it up there. These actually aren't going to be visible in the end, but they might affect how flush that inner wing support panel slots on. That little support got a little twisted, so I just straightened it out. Cleaning off some of that weld-through paste that they used originally to join the panels, and then spot weld through it. Cleaning off a few burrs as well on the edges of the cuts and the back of those welds, which are quite tidy from this side. I'll put a bit of weld-through primer on the bits that are going to overlap. Now a little bit more cutting. There's a few welds on this bit here. It's actually hard to see what way this was exactly originally, so I'll just bring my repair panel right up to it and weld across the gap. Down here I'm making a little bit of an extra cut. There's a flange behind this, and I'll hide the weld behind it. Not just visually, it just means that the weld has the benefit it can go into the second panel a little bit as well, so be nice and strong. It gives an idea of the amounts of sealant that were in a lot of these seams, hence all the burning when I was stitch welding. Clean that off. I might use a little bit of the panel sealant after all this is done, just to stop any water ingress, because you can see the way that that piece was actually shaped. It would actually catch water and channel it down. Now, making my big repair. Just short of having to join 2 sheets of cardboard to do this one, but this repair is within an A4 sheet. So to do the bit where there's an overlap, I need to find the point that it goes to the inside. I'm going to mark it there and just put a little cut in with the scissors, and then I can fit the cardboard as the panel would, so that I get good accurate lines. Then it's a little bit like tracing. I can press the edge with my fingers, so I'm glad I took all the burrs off, and then I can see the edge then, so then just mark that along then with the marker and then cut that out. Not perfectly ideal to have depressions in it in that shape for cutting with the snips, but it's funny, I get quite a bit of satisfaction about it, even just slotting in these templates. So this is where it overlaps on the inside, so just getting an accurate line for that by refitting it up. So marking all around it. You might wonder why I'm not just putting that straight edge along the straight edge of the salvage steel that I'm cutting out, but it actually suits to have, if I did that, I would be cutting into the middle of the sheet for this twisty section, whereas it's handy because it's going along this edge. I'm able to cut in at different angles. Trimming down some of those concave bits or depressions, as I called them a moment ago, that I just couldn't quite get into with the snips, and I'll get it right. So now, yeah, putting the fold into it. So I have it held between two bits of angle iron to extend my vise. Now the lip doesn't extend all the way back under that scuttle panel, so I'm just marking it, and I'll just use the cutting disc to remove that unnecessary piece. There, my arm is protecting you from the sparks. So sliding it in now, and now I'm marking it to see the contact areas where I need to put a bit of weld through primer on this panel. I'm really looking forward to having this in place. So that's the inner wheel arch reinforcing panel. So just cleaning that off, and because this is all going to be trapped on the inside, I want to put some paint on that. And now I'm welding up a few of the spot welds that I drilled all the way through, and then flattening them down. So I just have to fill these up from the top when I put the panel on. So yeah, I need to put a bit of paint on that as well. So that's where the overlap will be. The rest will still be exposed, so I can paint that later. So that's the repair panel, and that's the inner wing reinforcing panel to go back on. I'll leave all that to dry overnight, but I'm really looking forward to fitting these up, and yeah, getting the Eric, the 1980 Opel Kadett historic rally car, back in one piece. Filling this gap in the next video.